In 1981, George Harrison released an album that was as conflicted as the man himself. A record that blended faith, frustration and grief, and became one of his most revealing works. Now, with its reissue on vinyl by BMG just released, I'm giving Somewhere in England a fresh listen, more than 40 years after it first appeared. A chance to rediscover an album that George had to fight to get heard. I'm Andrew from Parlogram, and in this video I'll explore how this album came together, the songs that were rejected, and how tragedy reshaped it into one of the most personal releases of George's career. By the end of the 1970s, George Harrison found himself torn between two worlds. His 1979 self-titled album had performed well. Blow Away served as a reminder that he could still craft effortlessly melodic pop. But he'd lost interest in competing within what he called the pop game. He was happy running handmade films, producing The Life of Brian and Time Bandits, and spending time with his friends Michael Palin and Spike Milligan, both of whom he'd thank later in the liner notes of the album. Nevertheless, Warner Brothers wanted another album, so working intermittently between the 30th of October 1979 and the 23rd of September 1980, George recorded at his home studio at Friar Park, producing the sessions himself with Ray Cooper, a friend, percussionist and longtime collaborator. It would become his 11th solo album, credited simply to George Harrison and released on Dark Horse Records. By autumn 1980, George had finished the album and even delivered the artwork, a photograph of his face superimposed over a map of England. But Warner Brothers weren't impressed. They said it was too slow, too downbeat, and most damningly, they didn't hear a hit. They rejected both the artwork and 4 of the songs: Tears of the World, Lay His Head, Flying Hour, and Sat Singing. To George, these were among his best, particularly Sat Singing and Flying Hour, which captured the reflective spiritual side he valued most. He was furious, later saying, "I thought I was supposed to be the artist." But he reluctantly agreed to revise the record. He remixed several existing tracks and wrote 4 new ones to replace the rejected material. Blood from a Clone, All Those Years Ago, Teardrops, and That Which I Have Lost. Work resumed in November 1980, and over the next few months the album transformed, becoming something far more personal and in ways George could never have predicted. George opens with a slide jab at Warner Brothers. The line, "They say they like it now, but in the market it may not go well," is pure sarcasm, aimed squarely at the executives who told him to sound more upbeat. Funky, cynical and self-aware, it's George's most direct protest song since this song. In Unconsciousness Rules, he takes on the shallowness of early 80s pop culture and the new MTV celebrity machine. George was always dismissive of the contemporary pop scene, and with crisp guitars and tight drumming from Jim Keltner, it's musically lighter than its message, a smart contrast typical of late-period Harrison.
You are the one, you are my love, you send the rain and bring the sun.
Life itself is George at his most devotional, a love song to God written in universal terms. In many ways, it's the spiritual heart of the album. While other tracks bristle with frustration, this one pauses to reflect.
1981.
When it comes to All Those Years Ago, you come face to face with one of the most emotional, resonant moments of George Harrison's solo career. A song that began life in one direction was transformed by tragedy and emerged as both tribute and a reunion. George had written All Those Years Ago months earlier for Ringo, but when John was killed that December, everything changed. George took back the song, rewrote the lyrics as a tribute, and recorded it himself, this time inviting Ringo to play drums and Paul and Linda, along with Denny Laine, to add harmonies. It wasn't planned as a Beatle reunion, but that's what it became, and the only song of the 1980s to feature all three surviving members together. What makes this song so powerful is its tone. It's not mournful or angry, but warm and thankful. The melody is bright, yet there's a quiet ache underneath. Lines like "You were the one who made it so clear all those years ago" carry George's affection and a sense of loss without ever becoming sentimental. He later admitted he didn't fully understand the lyric himself, that leap from calling John weird to talking about God and existence. But that's what makes it pure Harrison, spiritual, human, and a little mysterious all at once. Released in May 1981, it shot to number 2 in America and number 13 in the UK, becoming his biggest hit in nearly a decade. More importantly, it gave fans like me something they never thought they'd hear again: the sound of the Beatles' voices together saying goodbye, not with sorrow, but with love. Placed here on Somewhere in England, it becomes the album's turning point. The first 3 songs set up George's frustration and meditation, and this one opens up its heart. Baltimore Oriole was a cover of Hoagy Carmichael's 1942 tune, a nod to his lifelong affection for the great American songbook, but a world away from the song that followed it. Teardrops was the label's idea of a hit. Polished, synth-driven and undeniably catchy. George delivers a strong vocal and clever hook, proving he could still play the pop game when he wanted to. That Which I Have Lost is a return to introspection. George's slide guitar soars here, while his lyrics recall the tone of Beware of the Darkness, weary, questioning, but ultimately hopeful.
Writings on the wall, brother.
Writings on the Wall is a haunting reflection of mortality and spiritual renewal. The arrangement, featuring Tom Scott on horns and Ala Raka on tabla, beautifully unites East and West.
It's a story of a very unfortunate colored man.
Hong Kong Blues, another Carmichael song, is light-hearted and almost comic. George's delivery is tongue-in-cheek, a brief moment of levity before the closing statement.
We gotta save the world.
The album ends with environmental protest, climate, nuclear war and greed, all wrapped up in satire. It's uneven, but sincere and surprisingly prescient. The original cover, George's face on a map of England, was scrapped along with the first version of the album. For the final 1981 release, the concept came from Ray Cooper, with photography by Caroline Irwin. It shows George sitting quietly in front of Mark Boyle's 1967 artwork, Holland Park Avenue Study, taken from the Tate Gallery. An image of calm introspection that perfectly captures his reflective mood. The inner sleeve carries the lyrics and a dedication to John Lennon. There was never a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor will there be any future when we cease to be. A simple but profound message of continuity and peace. Interestingly, the CD reissue brings back George's original once rejected artwork, the one Warner Brothers said no to in 1980. Somewhere in England was released in the UK on the 5th of June 1981. It entered the charts on the 13th of June, peaking at number 13, and remained there for 4 weeks. Upon its release, critics were divided. Some found it too mellow, others admired its warmth and honesty. But all those years ago carried the album into millions of homes and gave George his biggest success in years. Today, it stands as a quietly moving record, neither angry nor resigned, but accepting. Its mix of wry humour, spiritual reflection and bittersweet nostalgia make it one of George's most human albums. Originally remastered from the analog tapes in 2017, this is the new BMG pressing. The packaging stays true to the original 1981 release. The same National Gallery cover photo, the Dark Horse labels, and even the lyric inner sleeve with George's dedication to John. The vinyl itself, thanks to the polylined inner, is clean and unmarked, without any paper scratches or even any dust. It's a nice weight too, and on the turntable it lies flat and is well centered. Sonically, first impressions are good. It's a smooth, balanced cut with a natural mid-range and more openness in the top end than my early UK copy. The bass has a nice rounded warmth to it, and the vocals sit beautifully up front, especially on Life Itself and Writings on the Wall, which both sound gorgeous here. This isn't a radical remaster, but it feels right. Faithful to the original tonality, just with more clarity and space. For anyone who doesn't want to chase an original pressing, this is an excellent way to hear the album as George intended. Somewhere in England captures George Harrison in transition, mourning a friend, questioning fame, yet still driven to express truth and beauty through music. Compared with his two previous solo albums, Somewhere in England is pricklier, sometimes angry, and you can hear George pushing back at the pop game, even as he tries to play it. The heart is still there, Life Itself, Writings on the Wall, all those years ago, but the flow isn't as effortless. For me, this album always takes me back to that dark time after John was killed, and it was a long time before I could listen to it again. But I'm grateful for this new edition because it's given me the chance to reconnect with an old friend. Let me know what you think about this album, and if you picked up the new issue, how it sounds to you in the comments. We'll be doing more solo Beatles soon, but that's all for this time, so I'll say bye for now, and thanks for watching.